You take roll, please.
Mrs. Lethbridge.
Here.
Mrs. Butler.
Here.
Mrs. Donahue.
Here.
Mr. Reed. Here. Mrs. Kipling.
Here. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I get a motion to go into an executive session to consider the purchase of property for public purposes, for the sale of property of competitive bidding or bargaining advantages to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest. I'll move. I'll second. You take roll call?
Mrs. Lethbridge.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Reed.
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling.
Yes. Are we going next door?
Let's just go real quick. I don't think this will take long, but we'll go to the conference room just in case somebody walks in. And we'll be like,
Get out.
We're ready. Okay. Yeah, just in case I need something to write on. There's
Cookies.
Yeah.
there's cookies and,
Breakfast cookies.
I'm gonna go and set the meeting. We'll see something for you.
Thanks, Mike.
I know it was, I didn't do it. I think it pulled over from my misspent youth.
Exactly.
Oh, that twitch.
Remember,
So the-
meeting got really long.
I didn't think that would take that long, so. I just
Well,
wanted-
I mean, even having an executive session today, we were supposed to come in and be voted and I was to be at work by now.
I'm sorry. Like I said, I didn't think that would take that long. I thought that would be an easier discussion.
So the other gentleman with him is his boss, so the SRO is a guy in uniform,
Those,
right?
both those guys are SROs.
Oh,
So,
they both are, oh,
so
okay.
the older one, Scott, he's the middle school, high school. Trey was elementary, but he doesn't work here in the summer.
Oh.
He's
I
on
see.
duty right now.
Gotcha.
He stopped by with donuts probably. No, he's stuck.
Like the fact that signs says no food in meetings, isn't
Should say no children can have food.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Already.
Well, you already.
If your mom washes your clothes, you can't have food.
That's what I'm looking for, 8:53.
And then you're up next for the treasurer's business.
All right, thank you. Well, we are almost there. Things have been moving along swiftly, and we have final appropriations for your consideration. When we go through this process, we get to the point in our operations where we're done paying bills. And then we go through a process where we true up the expenditures and the appropriations, and that becomes the final appropriation. And so you have before you what those numbers are, and we would ask your approval of that. And that's for budgetary law purposes, 5705 of the revised code. And so it's just an annual process. We have that attached to your
Yeah.
agenda
I
as well.
appreciate that.
Mhm.
A lot easier to read.
Yeah. So what we do is we appropriate by fund. And the reason you do that, they hold you to whatever level of appropriation you as a board approve. So you go beyond this, then you really start locking up your day-to-day operations on the district. And that goes back to an audit I had early in my career, and they cited me for violation of this, and I asked for the work papers. And they attested all the way down to the fund, function, and object. And so we had passed it according to this, so they were incorrect, but that's why you do that. So it just simply lists by fund where we're at and what we spent. And that's where those are at for this year.
So we don't have use or lose appropriations?
No. We don't do use or lose it. Only from the standpoint, there are guidelines on federal programs. Where you have to use it in a certain amount of time. We may have a small issue with that on a couple of them, but by and large, no.
Okay.
But we did everything we could, direct everything we could possibly find. And as I mentioned in the update, we did a lot of cleanup on your fund special cost centers. I think there's 40 some now that are zeroed out, and you'll see that when we do the cash summary in the July meeting. So it's really come a long way, especially in the last month or so. Getting things cleaned up so it'll look much better going into next year, that cash summary. You start wiping out 48 of them. That's a lot.
Mhm.
So now you need a
Yeah,
motion on each one of these, right? So can I get a motion to approve the final appropriations for FY 25?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
So I just have, okay, so we're talking about this one, right?
No, that's transfers and advances, looking at that. We're talking about it says $32 million.
This one.
Oh, these pages?
The one he handed
Resolution
order
then.
The one that he handed out, he put it on the back of,
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
okay.
Yeah,
What's in here?
I think the one you're looking at is actually attached to the document. But the one with 32 million in your hand?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we're voting on right now. And that just places the appropriations at the expenditure level.
Gotcha.
Is there discussion? Okay. Then we take roll, please.
Mrs. Donahue,
yes,
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling,
yes,
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
yes.
And then we'd like to pay bills starting in July. So the next thing up for you is the FY 26 temporary appropriation. So we take this work and Jenny's the one that carried the water on this. And so it's basically set at about 75%. And we call them temporary appropriations. By September 30th, school districts have to come in with final appropriations. So this gives us a little bit of time to come in and fine tune things, look at them. I know she's done quite a bit of work on departmental building budgets at this point. So we'll be getting with those people and going through those. But again, this gets you off and running for the fiscal year.
So, could I get a motion to approve the temporary appropriations for FY 26?
Second.
Any discussion? We take roll, please.
Mr. V,
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling,
Yes,
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
yes,
Mrs. Donahue.
yes.
And then to the next one, which we're looking at, which really printed out in large print for us for whatever reason, is transfers and advances. We can do advances to general fund, or we can do PCRs, cash requests at year end, and not do advances. In the current climate that we're dealing with at the state level, we decided why not go ahead and do the advances. And what literally will happen is we will go out today and we will make these entries. And then as soon as we turn the books on July 1, I'll flip them right back. So it's literally there on your books for a day. And then the money is going to come into you through the cash requests from the Ohio Department of Education via the federal government. So that's how those work. Class of 2025, the practice here has been to move outgoing class funds up to the current sophomore class. Is the way they've been running that. That's what this does. The first one, transfer to the general fund $2.6 million. And Jenny and I have had a lot of discussion about this one. She sat in on an impromptu meeting, Zoom meeting with OASBO officials late last week. There was evidently significant confusion as to how that calculation will run. Will they use FY 24 figures? Will they use FY 25? I think they'll use 25. 24 is more conservative, is how you get to a $2.6 million figure. So we're going to recommend the $2.6 million and the establishment of the capital improvement fund. In fact, if I'm looking at this correctly, did I skip ahead on the agenda?
No. I think that's. The resolution.
Okay, the resolution right after. Okay. Fine. Again, we don't know what we don't know, and then stuff is still being vetted. Now, we had talked to you, we know the 070 fund, you can move money back without a court order, but what we did find out last week was not only do you move it back, you have to move it all back. So what you will see from us is you have another 070 fund you currently use. And we are going to recommend that probably in July, we're going to bring your resolution to change a 2017 resolution where you were having 70% of that money, of the pilot money go into there. And we're gonna suggest you stop that, and we're talking about reconfiguring the way your debt is paid. You got COPS debt paid out of there every year, which is a substantial number. We have always kind of scratched our head as to why is it sitting in the 070 fund. So we're going to recommend that it go to the 002 fund, which is bond retirement fund. And that, we believe, is going to make a lot more sense moving forward as you have a budget commission looking at your finances, determining whether they're going to lower your taxes. You can have dollars sitting in your 002 fund to be paying for that, what essentially is general fund debt. So we got a little bit of work to do on that, but we do know that by putting out the numbers, and by the way, the capital improvement 2.6 million needs to go to 0079225. Just make sure that, because 007 is your current one. We don't want to commingle that. In fact, we want to begin spending that down. I think there's 1.8 million sitting in it right now. So we want to go ahead and spend that down, get that one to zero, so that you're only dealing with this one should you have a need at some point to eliminate the 070 fund and move it back. So we think we can do that in fairly short order this year, with the needs that you have. So it's unfortunate that school districts are forced into this kind of situation because your balances aren't excessive. But with the way they're figuring things out right now, we've got to protect your assets because you've got far too many needs. You're a growing district, and just need some time to plan.
So and there's still a lot, sorry, there's still a lot of unknowns on this. So,
Absolutely.
I mean, like nothing is really resolved, right?
Well, the state budget clearly has in it 40% is the number. The question is, how do you, it's
How do they
40%,
calculate?
how are they going to calculate it? Well, in this short time frame where they're just, getting ready to release it, it hasn't been vetted by everyone, particularly the state auditor's office, to tell us exactly how they're going to do that. So at the end of the day, we don't trust them.
And what about the inside millage?
Inside millage is not in the state budget. It is alive and well in House Bill 335. So it's not
It's still-
necessarily gone.
Okay.
So that one's just kind of stay tuned. Other things that are happening, the 5-year forecast is now a 4-year forecast. Due October 15th this year. Due August 31st next year. That has not been mentioned much. In fact, yeah, I don't see it anywhere in my OASBO communications, but I found it by talking to a friend, and it is in the ComDoc.
It hasn't been highlighted.
They're just not
that's for sure.
highlighting it.
Yeah, and I'm fine with an October date. Makes all the sense in the world, the way it used to be. But that being said, when's the regular meeting in October here? Is it before?
Third Monday.
Third month, so probably after the 15th. So, so in all likelihood, we'll work towards approval of a financial forecast in September.
But we would have a work
We
session.
have a work session
in
October.
Yeah, you'll have a,
So that would be the second Monday.
13th.
Yeah.
Posted 20th.
Yeah, but it would be one of those, but it has to be approved. So, and September may not be too much of an issue. The other district I'm working with is going to have to do it in September. They're dealing with a state commission. That's the only way it can get done. So that's those are the first two. The rest of those are just the negative cash balances currently sitting out in the funds that are the federal funds. And again, those are the ones that are just going to flip in and out. The other two will stay as they are for now.
And if we go forward on finishing up the football stadium this year, perhaps with that,
There you go.
this is where it comes from, right?
There you
So we could
Yeah.
fund all that with this.
I believe I've read, now again, stuff hasn't been fully vetted. I thought I read at some point, all that legislation that you had 3 years to spend it. But when you start looking at some of the items that they're going to be looking at, even the way I read the forecast, I'm not so sure the forecast is in all funds, the way I read it. So we'll see what comes out. And that would be a total quagmire. But I think they're going to be looking at, but they being the budget commission. And they're not happy about it either. I mean, they're not happy. Your local people are not happy about being put in this position at the county level to make these calls. So we'll just have to wait and see, but some of the stuff I'm seeing indicates they're going to be looking at far more than just your general fund. I think they'll be looking at these funds. I think they'll be looking at your PI funds. We need to have plans in place, and we do have an administrative document that talks about your capital maintenance needs. So we're comfortable that we have some documentation already in place. Should anybody question, well, why are you doing that?
Thank you.
But at the end of the day, why we're doing it, Columbus.
Yeah.
Same reason, same reason everybody else in the state's doing this right now. And we're seeing this all over. Hamilton just moved 4.5 million.
Which just kind of leaves districts in a difficult, you can't really have a contingency plan or contingency fund or rainy day monies if they're telling you have to.
Well, yeah, yes and no, but at the same time, I think, yeah, I don't let school districts as a whole off the hook on this. We've accumulated cash balances as school districts across the state of Ohio beyond what they need to be. Not necessarily you guys, but some of the other numbers I've seen.
100% carryover
Yeah.
is it, I mean, that's.
I see districts with
That's
$150 million carryover on a $200 million budget or so, and they think they need to go after a levy.
More money.
So we've, as a collective group around the state of Ohio, kind of caused our own problems to a degree on this one. And
So you
that's,
cause problem for.
well, no, it's widespread.
It's more
You-
pervasive.
Yeah, we could always pull down maybe sometime I'll do that for you,
Yeah.
pull down the cash balance spreadsheet for all school districts in the state of Ohio. It's alarming. It's more than it needs to be,
Especially when you're asking for more money.
especially when you're asking for more money. And I think a lot of that came about because their districts got concerned about the way the state was allocating money.
Yeah,
It was- You couldn't
can't count.
couldn't
on
count,
the
you
levy
couldn't
passing.
count on the state funding to be consistent, and so there was one year that it really backed up, and then they got conservative real quick.
So what is the improving teacher quality fund?
Well, that's a good question. Was that improving teacher quality fund? Oh, okay, this is a 590. I'm thinking of, I'm thinking on the cash summary sheet.
No?
I had one for like $7 that we got rid of, and I was gonna say, well, it ended up being a lunch or something, but these are federal dollars again that are gonna be for professional development. If it's improving teacher quality, without looking at it,
Oh,
I feel pretty good.
But we went into the negative.
Well, no, the way your federal grants work, they're all on a reimbursement basis. So, say they give us $100,000. You go through and you start spending your money, and so I spent $30,000. Well, I've got to spend the $30,000 and then ask for it.
Gotcha.
So it's all,
Right.
so you're always in the
Spend
negative, you
it
get the
and
money
then
back.
they reimburse.
And that's what all this is
Gotcha. Understood.
on the advanced side with anything that's got a 500 fund number.
So can I get a motion to approve the transfers and advances from the general fund as recommended?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Repeat.
Mrs. Lefkowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mrs. Skipwith,
Yes.
Mr. Reed. Yes. And next up, which I thought I'd put this before that last motion, but would be the establishment of
of a new capital maintenance and infrastructure fund, 070-9225. And it contains in this resolution that we would move the 2.6 million. So basically, it just stipulates it again. So it'd be the same 2.6 million. This gets it on the records. Anytime you establish a new fund, it needs to be board approved. In this case, we got with bond counsel and we wanted to have, just a little bit more to it. So this, in general terms, gives you the flexibility you need to use the dollars for the capital projects that we identify. And, that's for a future discussion that, that planning needs to start now, because we do need to get things on the books and figure out how we're going to deal with that. But like I said, you've got the money coming in from the pilot that we're going to recommend changing. And I shared with you what your numbers look like from the state foundation on the budget. So you're still going to be in a strong position. And, we're just going to have to plan wisely. And again, like I've mentioned, you're a growing district. You've got plenty of needs. It's going to be staffing. It's going to be, obviously, you need facilities, and everything that goes with that. That drives additional busing costs and
All of it,
A to Z.
all
So,
of the above.
but enviable that you're in the position that you are. Because if you were sitting broke and dealing with this, it would be awful.
Nightmare.
So the recommendation is to establish that fund.
So can I get a motion to approve the establishment of the fund 070-9225 capital maintenance and infrastructure?
I'll move. Winner.
Second.
Any discussions? We take roll, please.
Mrs. Leslie,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger.
Yes.
So as we were going through our work, we got a bill from the ESC, and the way the ESC bill works is there's an estimate made at the beginning of the year as to how much you're going to need taken out of your state foundation. Well, that number was that much short. So we got to looking at this bill, and as soon as I got this, I said, okay, let's go back to square one. Let's look at what your original costs were and what you paid, and it all tied out, and that is the right number. So we put a requisition in. Obviously, since it wasn't in, it's more than $3,000. It's got to be in and now. So everything's been processed. The check is cut, sitting in the drawer for June 30th with your approval at 11 o'clock. That treasurer would like to have her check. So she was gracious enough to come out and suggested she come out and get that. And she, that was her idea, which is fine. And she was understanding that, knowing that, well, I go, so since we found this, we've got to have it through the board. So timing wise, it's pretty tight, but it is done. So we'd recommend that approval.
So can I get a motion to approve the then and now purchase order 251-462 in the amount of $333,881.11 to Miami County ESC?
Move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We take roll, please.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger,
Yes.
Mrs.
Yes.
That's you. I can't recommend myself.
Come on now.
Someone said I couldn't. I thought, okay.
You can't recommend yourself for contract?
Yeah, that's what they said.
So can I get a motion to approve the proposed scope of work and interim treasurer contract as presented?
I move.
I'll second.
Any discussion? We take roll, please.
Mrs. Donahue,
Yes.
Mr. B,
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
I guess that means I'm stuck. I have to come back.
And thank you.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
both for
Thank you.
everything you've
Well,
been doing for us.
we're happy to help you, and anything we can do for you, let us know. If we're not doing something, let us know.
For the kids.
For the kids.
We appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you. Motion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
Somebody second. We take motion.
Mr. V,
Yes.
Mrs. Kipler,
Yes.
Mrs. Leskowitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Butler,
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Nothing. 40.
Okay, Matt. Turn us off.
Should have down.
Before we say something.
Everybody